Good morning. It's good to see you again, and I thought this would be a good time maybe to talk a little bit about some hand tools, because most gardeners need a little help. Their tools fall apart, the bolts get loose, and you have to be conscious of this. You know, I don't care if you're using hand tools or power tools or whatever, you have to have a little bit of a toolkit. And I'm going to show you a few tools so you don't have to, in your little truck or however you travel, to carry a whole workshop. You should be able to get by with just a few tools, okay? And I'm going to start because when I was a child, we had to fix our bicycles, and most of you probably did the same thing. And my father only had a beat out old screwdriver, a hacksaw with no teeth in it, and pliers that were no good, okay? And if you ever did any of this, all the bolts that hold your wheel on, if you use pliers, pretty soon they're round and you can't get a good grip on them. So I'm going to show you some proper tools and so you can identify them. When it comes to screwdrivers, most of you should know a flat screwdriver. Okay, this is a very good screwdriver. If you could see how sharp and flat it is. My father's were all round this way, and you put it into a screw and it slipped right out. So it's good for digging out weeds. Do not use that. You want one that looks like this. And this looks kind of old, in which it may be in somebody's toolbox for a long time, but it's perfect. It's in perfect shape. And then we get into some different types, and this is the most common, called a Phillips. Okay? So these come in many different sizes, so do they. When you put these into a screw, they got to fit snug. If they're wobbling, your screwdriver is too small. If it won't go into the slot, they're too big. So you have to get the right one, okay? So a lot of times for me, for work, I would use one about this size, and it usually does most of the work, you know, that you'd have to have. This here is a little more specialized, and if you work on a car or appliances and stuff, but these are more exacting than the flat. If these are too big, you're just going to round the hole, and pretty soon the Phillips screw can't be taken out because you've rounded it all out. And at another time we'll talk about how to get that out, because everything can be done, okay? So a lot of times you can go to garage sales and you see these things. I'm trying to teach you how to look, what to look for. If they're in good shape and you can buy them for 10 cents, you buy it. But it might be 25 cents, but a piece of garbage. You don't buy it. So that's up to you. Then, like I said, when you're working on your bicycle, most of you know what a pair of pliers are, okay? These are not good for tightening on bolts or anything like that. They're only in a pinch that you could use them, okay? So I have a pair, but I don't rely on them. Then another pair of pliers that we have are called needle nose. These have a specific use. Electricians use them, but a lot of time you might want one in your toolbox because they got a wire cutter on it, and you could reach into something and start it to get it out, okay? Also, with these, you want them to close perfectly. If they're worn out, or right here, you can see, you can't see air through where you do the cutting. That's a good pair. But if they're really worn and have a lot of chips, they won't work. So stay away from those. Okay? When it comes to wrenches and getting out bolts, a lot of you probably know the pliers, and you probably know this little guy. It's called a crescent wrench. You turn this little wheel and the teeth come together or open up, okay? And these come in many sizes, all the way up to 12 inch, 12 inches long. The reason I don't like these, there's a little bit of play in them. They can move that way, so they can slip off the bolt if you don't have them right. So my recommendation is to have what we call an open end wrench that doesn't wiggle. It's got a, if it's made for a 1/2 inch bolt, you put it on a 1/2 inch. This here, you know, you can play around with it, okay? If you want to be more positive, you turn it around and you got an open end wrench, I mean a box wrench. And this is very exacting, okay? So you can see this particular one has got 12 notches on, so you call it 12 point. And then they have some that are 6 point, that's more exacting yet. Won't slip off the bolt. This is like a combination, 1/2 inch over here, 1/2 inch there. Okay, so a lot of times in your toolbox, buy a couple of these. Sometimes they come in a set, so you got both the box and the open end. Because sometimes you can't reach in to get anything to get this on there, so you can do it with this. Okay, so that's what that tool is. Then the next one that just so you know, like I said, they all come different sizes. Here's the big brother. You know, box on one end, open end on the other, okay? So a lot of time you look for Sears Roebuck in some of these stores, they put them on sale. That's, we always recommend, that's when you buy your tools. You just don't go in and see what the price is and buy, because a lot of time you put them on sale, you get them for about half price, okay? And then if you buy them as individuals, it's a lot more expensive than buy a set, okay? And then if you really get a little bit more into a little bit bigger toolkit, we have a big one here, and got all kinds of things in it. And we use what we call then, this is a ratchet wrench. This goes around, and you turn it like that. So you could go like this, or if it's locked, you can just go all the way around, or if you're in a tight spot, boom, 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 boom. That's why I call it a ratchet. This little tip here is the drive. This is 1/4 inch drive. The next size would be 3/8, the next half, 3/4, and 1 inch. You're working on tractors and big heavy equipment, they have 1 inch. Okay.
What's on this side? Let's see.
Most of them have a little wheel on here, so right to left. So you can make the ratchet go one way or the other way. Okay? And so in our business, and me, I've always had a 1/2 and a 3/8. You don't need a 1/4 and a 3/8. You should be able to do all your gardening equipment with those two sizes, okay? And what the drive means, the little hole in the bottom of a socket fits on. That's 1/4 inch. So you buy a set of sockets, 1/4 inch, okay? Remember before I showed you a 12 point, right there, 12 point socket? This is 6 point. So makes no difference when you put it on the bolt. All you want to remember is what the drive is. But you'll know, as soon as you get this little guy and try and put it in the big one, it doesn't fit, okay? And after a while in my class, I used to give a test. And I want you to tell me what size this is and what drive. People get them wrong. First of all, you look at it and it says 1/2 inch. And then you got to learn the difference between a 1/4 inch drive and a 3/8. There's a big difference. So once you get into this, just with your eyeballs, you don't have to measure it. You're going to get it. You know, the more time you use it, you're going to know a 1/4 inch. And also, when you get into the ratchet wrench, if it's 3/8, it's a little bit bigger. If it's 1/2 inch, it's a little bit bigger. You get into the 1-inch one, the ratchet wrench is that long, you know. So and then this one has a little button on it. You push that and the socket will come off.
Like a quick release.
Yeah, yeah. So you push it on, or if it's even hard to put on, you push the button, it slips in, lock, you got it. You want to take it off, you push it, and it slips right out. Years ago, we didn't have that. You know, so you just pulled on it, and eventually it comes out. Because if you look at this, you got a little bearing on the side right there. And that gets in there and locks into a little slot in here. And that's what keeps it on, okay?
Hey Gus, I can get all these kind of wrench sizes in a metric system too?
Yeah, that's, that you find out real quick. If you don't know, you put a 1/2 inch in a socket and it doesn't work. So you put a 3/8 and it don't work. Okay, this must be a metric bolt. And that's the sad part in America today, that we have even automobiles coming with metric and standard. You know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, that's standard. Metric is 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter, and they've been using these in Europe and around the world for years. But the Americans we have our own system, okay? So the bad part is you have to know what kind of tools you have. If you have nothing but standard, don't even bother with a metric system, you know. And then if you do, a lot of times what you could do is just buy the sockets you need. Let's say you have on your lawnmower or something, you have 2 3 millimeter or 4 millimeter bolts. Buy those 2 sockets and you got it made. You don't have to buy a whole set. I have, in this set, half of these we don't use, but that's how they make money. They sell you a set of everything.